Hello there, and welcome to The Right Hook. I am Steve Hook. It is good to be with you again. I was not here Wednesday because I was at a graduation celebration for my niece, but I was no way was I going to miss today. So much is obviously going on. Even if we didn't have what's happening in Israel and Iran right now happening, we would have a 6-hour show on tap for you. Now you throw in what's happening over in that region of the world, and we could be on all the time. The show we titled it "Is This the Storm Before the Calm?" And I believe that as it is Friday, and as we have been doing recently, we are going to welcome my guest host and friend Michael Lauber to the program. Hello, Michael. Michael, of course, is co-host with Derek Evans on the Insurrection here on Ex American News. And it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show, Michael. How are you, brother?
Oh, just another day in paradise over here as I'm watching the world burn and prepare to burn more throughout the weekend.
Yeah. It's I got to tell you, Michael, I'm a little bit perplexed by some of the schism within the MAGA movement concerning this.
Yeah.
I'm perplexed because I think it's short-sighted. And I think it looks to place blame where the blame does not belong, mainly on Israel.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people that are otherwise pretty smart folks, people that I agree with on 99% of all subjects, now posting memes about I'm not going to war for Israel and stuff. I can't explain that mentality because I know just how absolute radical the mullahs in Iran are. We have our friend Annie Cyrus, which would testify to that. She is an Iranian expat living in the United States who has basically a
keen understanding. Yeah. Well, and a keen understanding how they operate over there.
She has a keen understanding of how they operate. And she is basically living under threat of the Iranian regime. So when you talk to actual Iranians that have had to deal with this crap since 1979, and initially it should be said that a lot of Iranians embraced this theological nightmare that the world has been living under for all those years. But they quickly learned that maybe this wasn't a good idea. Of course, we saw the Green Movement that Obama turned his back on. And there are a lot of people inside Iran that are privately, if not publicly, cheering this on and saying, go, Israel, go. It should also be said that there are other countries in the Middle East that privately, if not publicly, are tacitly approving it. We know Saudi Arabia has already told Israel that they can use their airspace to retaliate against Iran. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
The Abraham Accords were all about this. And now some of these people are going back to the USS Liberty and all this. Look, there have been a lot of operations that Mossad and the CIA have carried out that are fishy. None of us would argue with that. But we're talking about Iran right now, for God's sakes, not Israel.
Yeah.
If those mullahs got a nuke, they would use that nuke.
Yep.
And anyone that disagrees with that doesn't know their ass from a hole in the ground. And it should be pointed out that the IAEA, no friend of Israel's, Michael, I think you would agree, they've been publicly warning the entire planet, hey, these guys are very close. And now, again, this is the Tuckers and the Candaces and all of them are saying it's none of our concerns. I cannot wrap my head around that mindset. And I'm not saying that I want the United States to go to war with Iran, the furthest thing from that. But I sure as hell wish that we would just stand down, shut up, and let Israel do it. And they've been doing a pretty good job, apparently. What's your take on all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a few prominent people out there that have, as Tim Pool calls it, Israel derangement syndrome, that it's just, they can do nothing good no matter what. Now, I mean, there's parts that there's certain things that are said, like I agree with. Like I'm tired of funding Israel. I'm tired of sending the money all the time. I get that we have some joint operations and things that we can work on together, but we don't need to fund them. We don't need to write them line items into budgets anymore. The rest of it, I think, is nonsense. Like they're clearly an ally in the region, and our interests are clearly aligned on this. Let's also not forget that. Even if we did end up getting involved somehow with Iran, it doesn't mean boots on the ground. Approximately 70% of the population within the country wants the regime gone, once the theocrats, the mullahs, removed from the country. I mean, it's very simple too. It's also the Kurds and other people are aligned against them in the region. It could be as simple as funneling some weapons over there, providing some logistics, and when 70% of your nation's against you, it's not that hard to topple the government. But Iran's not doing themselves any favors in this mess either. You know, this is very clearly, Trump sent a message 61 days ago that if they didn't come to the bargaining table, there would be consequences. Well, and he gave them 60 days. We're at 61 days. Look what happened. And there's going to be more, which has already been made pretty clear to them. But now they're saying there will be no nuclear deal. These are people that fund terrorism all over the world. Every terrorist group you can think of, from Al-Qaeda to Islamic Jihad to Hezbollah, Hamas.
Houthis.
Yeah, they're all funded.
I mean, the list is Al-Saif. I mean, the list is endless.
Yeah. And Iran, the government in Tehran basically serves as both the bank and clearinghouse and the de facto leadership. It's not always directly out of Tehran. Sometimes, like Al-Qaeda is trying to make themselves a name for themselves again, or so I hear. And I know they're pulling the strings on some of this, but make no mistake, again, a lot of this is going to be done at the direction of Tehran. They're really running, even organizations that appear to be opposed to each other, they've got their fingers on those triggers too. So this is a terrorist threat, not just to the region, but to the entire world. And they do need to be taken out. But, you know, I don't understand the Israel derangement syndrome. Again, I don't think we should be writing them unlimited checks. But otherwise, certainly we don't need to get involved in any other conflicts there. But this is the thing. Like right now, providing, if it's just logistic support, or since now they've already said there's not going to be a deal, maybe it's time to immediately, before they can get their stuff together, go in and finish mopping up whatever's left of their nuclear facilities. And you know what? Why don't we splatter the rest of their leadership too?
Well, Israel may well be on its way to do that.
Yeah.
Let me, by way of kind of underscoring your point, Michael, let me read what Donald Trump said this morning. I mean, this guy never sleeps. This was 5:56 a.m. He'd probably already been up for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But here's what he said on Truth Social. He said, I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. And they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now. And it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, to come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left, and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. That's from Trump this morning at 5:56 a.m. Eastern time. Currently, he is in a meeting with the Security Council. At least he was up to about an hour ago. I assume he's still there. No doubt getting briefed on all this. But Michael, the thing is, and you kind of hit it. Forget Israel. What if Israel didn't act? And what if we didn't act? And we just decided to become Fortress America? We're isolationist. We're Rand Paul's wet dream. We get involved in nothing. And then Iran gets a nuke. Then what do we do, Rand? Then what do we do, Tucker or Candace? And the argument seems to be like, oh well, they lied about weapons of mass destruction. They're lying about this. The IAEA is not carrying water for Israel, and anyone that thinks they are doesn't know much about the IAEA.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, something had to be done. If we had just sat in the fence and Israel had too, then eventually they'd be glowing in the dark. And let's also let's not forget, Iran has missile systems that can reach, I can't remember if it's 2,000 kilometers or 2,500 kilometers. So they can reach into Europe already with missile systems that we already know they have that function, and they're working on ones with range beyond that. And sorry, I think it might actually be 3,500 kilometers. It's been a while. I helped Annie with a report on all this stuff a couple of years ago, getting their missile ballistics and statistics together. And I guess I should have refreshed my memory on that. But let's also look at one other thing. So right now there's a counterattack ongoing against Israel from Iran, and it's not been nearly as brutal as I thought it would be. It sounds like between Israel, U.S., and British fighters, we were able to take out every drone before it made it to Israel, and they've only been able to sneak through a few ballistic missiles out of 100 that they fired from Iran. So a few did get through to, there's video right now of Tel Aviv, so we do need to keep those people in your prayers. But I honestly thought their counterattack was going to be a lot worse than it has been, which brings up something else that kind of occurred to me earlier today. One of the concerns with Iran has been that they supposedly had a modern air defense system. Well, if Israel sent 200 plus planes in, and either none of them were shot down, or if you can believe the mullahs, they shot down one, that means their air defense system, which now most of it lies in ruins anyway, was not nearly as sophisticated as we thought. So are they just another paper tiger? And if that's the case, well, the next round, Israel's really going to have their way with them, because now most of their air defense system is gone, and we know it was dysfunctional to begin with, that it was all a lie.
Yeah. Well, and also, I think it's worth pointing out, even what's her name on Fox, Jennifer, what's the chick's? Jennifer Griffin.
Oh, yeah.
She brought up a very salient point. She said, look, these missiles that are being fired into Tel Aviv, mostly right now, are coming from mobile missile launchers. So they're not static. They're not installed in a place certain. They're moved around. It makes them a lot more difficult to find.
Yeah.
It also limits their capability. If you're dealing with mobile weaponry, you're not dealing with transcontinental missiles because they can't fire them. They're too big. So it makes one wonder, how bad did this first strike cripple Israel? We know it took out many of their top leaders, including their top two nuclear scientists. They're dead. The chief of the Iranian Republican Guard, dead.
General Salami.
General Salami, as opposed to the what was the joke you said off air?
General Salami, as opposed to a specific salami.
Yeah, so he's dead. Khamenei, Ayatollah Khamenei's right-hand man, dead. So they are in just fire mode at this point. If you got them, fire them. Yeah. And not many of them are getting through. And you're right. This second wave of, which I have no doubt is probably currently underway, the Israel is going to really decapitate them. And that's why I said the storm before the calm. Yes. Because when at the end of the day, if the Iranian mullahs are overthrown, and God knows a lot of Iranian citizens would love to see that happen, that region would immediately cease being the problem that it has been for the last 35 years. Mm-hmm. If Iran is out of the way, it'll create a vacuum. A vacuum for what? What is going to be worse than a death cult that says death to America, death to Israel, and oh, by the way, we want to bring the 12th imam out of the well that he's been living in for 600 years and destroy the world and bring about an Islamic caliphate from one side of the planet to the other. It's absurd.
Oh yeah, agreed. And here's another thing to consider too. So the storm isn't over yet. Even if Israel wipes Iran off the map tonight, tomorrow, we're still going to have one of the concerns is in Europe already is, as when Israel does anything, because they've let their countries get so invaded and infiltrated, that they're going to see riots. So I guess there was whispers on the streets, and there's a few people out already, but it was too short a notice today. But they're expecting some major riots across Europe beginning tomorrow. Again, because Israel's the oppressor, they're an occupier, whatever else, free Gaza, pro-Hamas, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure Greta Thunberg's all been out of shape about this. But, again, at the direction of Iran, you're going to see potentially riots and see Paris, London, probably Berlin, a number of other major cities within Europe that have been flooded with invaders from Syria and from across the Middle East that they've coddled and they don't enforce the law with. They've already been sent a message it's okay to riot and burn things. I mean, look, we just covered what happened there, 2 weeks ago because of a soccer game. Well, not even... started before the soccer game. That soccer game was the excuse to riot in Paris. Yeah. So we're going to probably see more of that. And again, that's just yet another attempt to hold the world hostage, to use terrorism to try to enact their political agenda.
Yeah. And that's that. And that is exactly why I have a problem with this. This is Israel. What did you call it? Israel?
Derangement syndrome.
Derangement syndrome. Yeah. And it really kind of is. I mean, for all the ill that you could say about Israel and how much money they take, and I don't disagree with you, by the way. I'm kind of sick of funding everybody around the world, but for all of that, Iran getting a nuke is not an option. Period.
Yes.
The end. There's no option there. And to your talk about these planned riots, No King's Day, it's called.
Yeah.
It's going to happen here in the United States tomorrow. They've been all over it, talking about it. And it's even, and this is all anti-Trump. That's all it is.
Yes.
And by the way, it's even taking place in Europe, in England, in the EU. They're planning these the left is going to be the destruction of this planet if they continue in the way they've been doing. Let's go to cut one. I want you to see this. This is Fox News kind of breaking down what the IAEA has warned about, and it's worked. This isn't propaganda, folks. The IAEA is not a champion for Israel. They never have been. But it is worth checking this out. Cut one.
Now, it is thought by the IAEA that if you're able to enrich uranium at the level that you need to make a bomb, you could do it and make one weapon within 2 or 3 days. If you were able to achieve that, then a month from now, you could have 11 weapons, all right? So now, this is what the Israelis have been concerned about for years, the U.S. as well. 5 months out, you could have enough enriched uranium to produce 22 nuclear weapons, and at that point, the Middle East really becomes a whole new region, and the balance of power shifts in a significant way toward Tehran. That was a huge concern. This is what Benjamin Netanyahu has been talking about from Tel Aviv and Jerusalem now for about a year. Iran has been fighting a 7-front war. And just to go ahead and tick off a number of these, Syria has been hit for the past 2 years on behalf of the Israelis. We know Hezbollah has been decapitated in Lebanon. Interesting to note that the Lebanese government has said they will not participate in any attack on Israel. So that means the Northern Front appears.
All right.
We lost the audio.
Yeah, we lost audio. It's okay. The point that he's making there is what the IAEA is saying is that if they get the fissile material, they're going to be off to the races. And they were very much basically warning the world that they're very close to getting this fissile material.
Yes.
Now, some folks will believe that this is all a lie promoted by Israel. But the IAEA's insistence that this is true kind of belies that, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I don't care if they have a nuclear weapon or not. They're still a threat to the region because they finance terrorism all over the world.
I know people that don't have limbs because of Iran, or eyesight. Good Lord. I mean, what do you... Oh, it's all Iran. It's all Israel. This is why I don't understand this fissure between certain people within the MAGA coalition, if you will. Look, whatever you think about Israel, it's irrelevant. What Iran, we know about Iran, is they've killed people all over the world. And they're going to continue to do it because that's what they've stated they're going to do. These people seem to think that Nah, don't listen to them. Don't believe them. You know, if they say death to America, it's just they're just talking. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's absurd. And you know, it's just it's absolutely insane. Now you were talking about these planned protests, aka riots, because that's what some of them are definitely going to turn into. I have no doubt that there will be some peaceful protesting. Bully for them,
Maybe.
maybe, but there will absolutely be people that have infiltrated these peaceful protests, and they'll do what we've seen done in LA. That's going to happen. So that begs
Yeah.
the question, how many Iranian sleeper cells crossed the southern border over the past 4 years during the Biden reign of error? How many of them are in country right now? God, I know that the DNI and I'm sure the CIA and every intel agency has been up for weeks trying to figure this out, because that's a scary proposition.
Yeah, and if they haven't been up for weeks, they better have been up all night last night and tonight worrying about this. Because, well, we just had the story break 2 or 3 days ago, confirmation that there were no checks to anybody that Biden flew over from Afghanistan, and they knew about 50 plus known terrorists that were amongst that group just from Afghanistan. Plus, they suspect that there's been at least another around 200, I don't remember the exact number, of people that snuck over the border off the terror watch list. Let's also not forget they've lost a few people from the prison system, at least 2 that were known terrorists during the last year of the Biden regime. So yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised if at one of these rallies somewhere, maybe not in a major city, you know, maybe not New York or Chicago or someplace where they're, you know, anticipating riots, maybe they'll pick a secondary city somewhere, and one of these people, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they infiltrate that riot or rally. Well, it's still peaceful, and then they self-detonate, sing the song of their people in the middle of the crowd, both because it'll strengthen their cause and their mission, but also because they know that right-wing extremists will be blamed for it until it's all sorted out. That will feed into that narrative, and ultimately, we do still have to remember we have the red-green axis, this alliance between these socialists, these leftist globalists around the world, and Islam. So don't be surprised at all if we do see some sort of attack. If not tomorrow, something's going to happen. There's going to be repercussions. They're going to activate some group somewhere, and American lives are at stake. And let's not forget Europe either. But yeah, there's already been warnings about it, but expect to see something happen soon.
Well, heaven forbid, but I fear that you may be right. I just wonder who Tucker and Candace are going to blame, because God knows MSNBC, CNN, and the rest of the usual suspects are going to say, this is what happens when you have a king or when you have a dictator. This is what happens, ignoring all history. I would just say this concerning the Iranian response thus far. And I always try and let history be my guide. Nazi Germany was done when they had 0 air defenses. It was all but over for them.
Yeah.
Imperial Japan was all but done when they lost their air force and, even more notably, their navy, because they're an island nation. Once Japan's navy was gone, and once their air force had been all but crushed, it was over for Japan. Well, right now, Iran is driving mobile missiles trucks all over the place, firing as many missiles as they can. They don't have jets that they're sending over to Tel Aviv. That's not happening. They're not launching these long range transcontinental missiles. They're hammering 21st century versions of Scuds. That's what they're firing. And some of them are going to kill people. There's no doubt about that. But more importantly than all the military action that's taking place right now, behind the scenes, God, you know the mullahs are sweating bullets right now.
Oh yeah, and I was just thinking with how well some of this Chinese equipment just worked for Pakistan. I wouldn't be at all surprised the Iranians are over there right now, poking it with a stick, afraid to use what they thought was their modern air defense system and modern equipment, thinking, is this just going to fail and fall out of the sky, just like what happened in Pakistan recently? Yeah. So, this is the problem. Like, you don't need high technology, multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment for terrorism. All you need is fanatics that can go buy fertilizer, diesel, and other ingredients and are willing to go sacrifice themselves for Allah. So a terrorism campaign is very inexpensive once the people are already in place because we opened our border. So whether we're talking here or we're talking Europe, they probably already have the components in place to unleash a lot of havoc on the West outside of what they're trying to do to Israel right now. I mean, I think they've just shown the world they're a paper tiger. They're not nearly the threat we all thought they were on one hand, but on the other hand, it's still just as insidious. They may not have the capability to defend their airspace like we thought they did. They certainly don't seem to have the capability to launch a real long-range ballistic attack on Israel,
or a naval assault. That's out.
Oh, that's gone.
Speedboat, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to help them. I think they'll the Iranian Navy will be at the bottom of the sea if that's their plan to attack Israel. But yeah, they're
gonna go with the MO, Michael, that they've always gone with: proxies, and sleeper cells and terror. And people need to be prepared for that. Now, listen, we've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how Democrats and the media, frankly, are playing right into this with this stupid No Kings protest.
Oh, I know.
People like Jamie Raskin and this idiot Padilla. We'll talk about that as it relates to what's really going on in that region of the world, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We got a lot to get to. We don't have enough time to get to all of it, but we'll get to as much of it as we can. You're watching The Right Hook with me, Steve Hook, and my friend here, Michael Lauber. We'll be right back after this.
Life can be pretty unpredictable, filled with good days and not so good days. And sometimes, the only difference between the two is your level of preparedness. The Jase case lets you be better prepared for whatever comes your way. It contains antibiotics and other prescription medications so that you aren't caught unprepared. With a Jase case, you are able to get your prescription medication before the unpredictable happens, allowing you to turn those not so good days into great ones. Go to jase.com now and get your own Jase case.
Yeah, what a great product that is. What do you need to know about the Jase case? Well, if you don't know, if you don't know, it's an emergency set of prescription antibiotics or any prescription that you need. This isn't a first aid kit with Band-Aids and Bactine. This is a health wellness kit that you can take with you wherever you go. And in case there's a supply chain issue of getting your heart medication or whatever, you can have up to a year's supply in a Jase case. So you're set for life. It's almost like a prepper's toolkit for medical health. And I know some people, the preppers are a little bit crazy. Yes, but telemedicine is wonderful because you can have everything that you know you need before you need it. And then if there is a problem with, a supply chain issue or whatever, you're out of town and you can't get a prescription filled because you're in, Istanbul or London. Guess what? Your Jase case has got you covered. So check it out. Just make sure you get to the site, jase.com, jase.com. Use the promo code HOOK and get an additional savings. And Michael, I know that you love the Jase case. You've got one right there, don't you? You gotta hold it up. I know it is. There it is. I'm still waiting for mine. I hope to get it soon. But it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And by the way, if you like what you're watching on Ex American News, we encourage you to support our sponsors. Not only will you get great products out of our sponsors, but you'll keep us on the air. And that's pretty damn important, too. All right, Michael, let's talk about this. The Democrats are on a suicide mission, apparently, kind of like the mullahs. No, I'm not comparing them to the mullahs. I'm just saying that in certain ways, they're very much alike. They are lashing out at anything and everything because they are circling the bowl and leaving skid marks. Now, here is Jamie Raskin, this despicable man. I want you to see who the Democrats are, who they consider their constituents, and what they are really advocating for. Cut 2.
We have no kings here. We have no queens here. We have no emperors. We have no dictators. We have no despots. And we have no serfs and no slaves and no subjects. And none of us is a subject to Donald Trump. None of us is a subject to Mike Johnson. We are all citizens. Those of us who aspire and attain to public office are nothing but the servants of the people. And the minute that somebody in public office thinks that they're a king, they're a queen, they're an emperor, they're a dictator, that is time for the people to evict, eject, reject, impeach, try, convict, and start all over again. Because the
Okay,
most
okay. Now,
important words of our
this a-hole right here.
What a baby.
I mean, what an absolute, oh God, I swear to God. This guy's such a jackass. What have they tried to do to Donald Trump over the last 6 years? Besides, imprison him, bankrupt him, and assassinate him. And now, because of what happened in LA, which was as predictable as the sunrise, they're out here saying, well, here's our chance, fellas. Here's our chance. And to your point, Michael, if you get hundreds and hundreds of liberal sheep, morons in cities scattered throughout the United States, what's to stop some Iranian sleeper cell from martyring himself? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope that it's nothing but peaceful protest, but I'm also not a moron. And I know I can see some potential danger here. What do you think about Jamie Raskin and these other politicians on the left encouraging and promoting this No King's Day crap?
Well, I mean, let's be real. They're encouraging and promoting violence. They don't want peaceful protests. They're the ones that are wanting the National Guard to stand down. And even in California, let's not forget, the only reason the LAPD was forced to do their job and round some people up and make arrests for the last couple of nights is because the military was there protecting the feds and the federal buildings in and around Los Angeles. They want chaos. They want destruction. They want to pretend there's a popular uprising against President Trump, that the American people want the illegal aliens spared. Well, that's not the message the American people are getting. When you had all these people waving Mexican flags out in the street in LA, and that was all everybody saw, the optics were terrible.
Burning American flags.
Yeah, well, burning American flags and looting American businesses. They're mad. I mean, popularity for or approval, I should say, for mass deportations went up 4% since last Friday. Probably more than that now. The swing for support among legal aliens towards the Republican Party has been almost 40 points in 12 months.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's insane. So they're now... So it used to always be legal immigrants favored Democrats. Well, now it's plus 4 or 5 Republican. And again, support for Trump, his agenda, and for mass deportations continues to rise. So we're watching these people destroy Los Angeles, try to hold Chicago hostage, block their freeways. And I think tomorrow is going to blow up in their face, probably literally and figuratively, when they have these mass protests around the country. I mean, there's a lot of places that aren't going to tolerate their insolence the way California will. Like, I know in Cincinnati, they're not going to put up with this shit. If they get out of hand and start breaking buildings, they're going to get clubbed, handcuffed, and thrown in jail.
Well,
let's
do this. Let's play Tom Homan from the other night, basically talking directly to jackasses like Jamie Raskin and this Padilla moron. Here's what ICE Director Tom Homan had to say about it. Cut 3.
Here's my concern. I've been doing this for a long time. It's a matter of time before ICE takes a life or an ICE agent loses their life because the rhetoric is at an all-time high and is being fed by people who should be more responsible. Elected officials especially, who keep firing up this rhetoric. I'm telling you, it's coming. There's going to be a tragedy because they keep throwing gas on this flame.
They sure as hell are throwing gas on that flame, and they're doing it for one reason, not because they give a rip about immigrants, illegal or otherwise, not because they give a damn about cities. They're doing it because politically they see it as a lifeline. They see it as this is our one chance at really tying all this violence directly to Trump as we throw more gas on the violence. It's asshole behavior is what it is. And I think Jamie Raskin should be absolutely ashamed of what he's doing. Yeah. Saying that Trump is a dictator and a king, while when Biden was in office, they went after good God, they went after everybody. They locked people up for no reason. They were targeting Catholic charities. They were targeting parents of children in school at school town hall meetings. That they are projection artists, and they are morons. Now, you mentioned that some areas will not tolerate this BS, and you're not wrong. And this is the one I really, really love. This is what's this cat's name? The Sheriff Wayne Ivey of Brevard County, Florida, and he put it as succinctly as you possibly can. And it was the stuff of genius. Let's play. I think that's cut 5, Michael.
So I'm gonna break it down for you. All right. And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order.
And this guy is not even the roughest, toughest sheriff in Florida. He's probably about number 3 on that list. Yeah, they're not going to screw around down there.
I will kill you graveyard dead. And of course, the media loses their mind over that. And he doesn't give a damn. He's got a governor that's going to have his back. He's got a population that lives in Florida that has his back and cheer this on. And meanwhile, Jamie Raskin and this Padilla moron are trying to, they really, really, really are trying to fan the flames of insurrection, as they call everybody that disagrees with them insurrectionists. It is pretty funny, though, Michael, that, every single time somebody points out that what's happening in Los Angeles is criminal, what do? They immediately go to January 6th.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Of course.
Well, what about Seattle? Oh, that's not as bad as January 6th. Portland, not as bad as. What about what happened in Atlanta? Not as bad as January 6th. They've got one date that they can point to. Meanwhile, for 6 straight days, Los Angeles has been on fire. It slowed down a bit because the National Guard is there. We know that this Breyer idiot, Judge Breyer, said, no, Trump, you can't do that. You've got to return the National Guard over to the authority of Gavin Newsom, the rightly elected government of California. Within hours, that was rescinded. And appeals court said, no, Trump still has control. So they thought they got a win there, and no such luck. What do you think Newsom would do if he regained control of the National Guard? I'll tell you what he'd do. He'd tell them to stand down and allow the city to burn.
Yeah, they can sit. They'll have them sit back and watch while the city's on fire. But again, we look at Florida. Ron DeSantis yesterday, came out in the evening and reminded everybody in the state of Florida that if rioters are blocking you in traffic, it's legal in Florida to run them over. So you have 2 polar opposite ways of looking at this menace, because this isn't protest, this is terrorism. This is once again trying to hold the whole country hostage and crybaby and destroy enough property that will let the leftists have their way and let all their friends, the illegal alien invaders, stay here. I mean, that's really what it's all about, is holding the country hostage. That they know that, the being correct in history, they're on the wrong side of history, as they like to say about us. The American people know it, and we're not going to just reverse course because you guys hold riots and cry in the street and throw your little temper tantrums and burn down villages or businesses in blue cities. So
Yeah.
I don't think their plan's going to work.
Well, yeah, but it is their plan, and
Yeah.
and that tells you just how devoid of actual substance they are. They don't have any substance. So the plan is temper tantrums and burning down cities, and
Yep.
then getting their media buddies and acolytes in the press to basically say this is all Trump's fault. And they're also, of course, using as Breyer, that moron points proved, they're using judges, activist judges, to try and roll everything Trump's done back. I'm reading here from here's from Fox News right now, Fox News Digital. A second federal judge on Friday blocked an executive order from President Trump aimed at overhaul elections in the U.S. Trump's March 25th EO sought to compel officials to require documentary proof of citizenship for everyone registering to vote in federal elections, except only mailed ballots received by Election Day, and condition federal election grant funding on states adhering to the new ballot deadline. So Trump is trying to tighten up election transparency. At the same time, he's trying to tighten up, election security as far as who should and should not vote. And this judge, what's her name? Judge Denise Casper. Would it surprise you to hear that she was appointed by Obama? Of course it wouldn't. She says the Constitution does not grant the president any specific powers over elections. So what she's really saying there is, you can't. Yes, by law, you can, if they're illegal, you can't. They cannot vote. But you can't have them prove that they're here legally or a citizen.
Well, I'm not convinced this judge isn't just John Cheadle in a wig, but no, I mean, it's pure insanity. And again, this goes back to the same old argument, this imaginary thing that minorities are incapable of getting ID, that somehow if you're black or brown, you're too stupid to know where the DMV is, and you just can't get yourself a driver's license or whatever else. No, it's ridiculous. This is about allowing their illegal alien friends to continue to vote and create as many loopholes or as much doubt as possible so that they can infiltrate the voting rolls with names, really, is what they want to do. They want universal mail-in ballots, and they want to be able to send these ballots out to address. I mean, we know for a fact that these NGOs were sending busloads of people state to state to sign up to vote, and that they were using what do you call it? The centers they were keeping everybody at as their home address. We just haven't had a chance to go in and arrest or really investigate with a lot of these things yet. But no, they are desperate to maintain whatever corrupt control they still have on elections and keep their people, illegal and otherwise, on the books. They certainly don't want anyone having to show ID or prove, or God forbid, prove they're a citizen.
And listen, I know that between you and I, Michael, this need not be mentioned, but to those people that are just stupid enough to believe that Trump is acting dictatorial or king-like or whatever, illegals can't vote, Steve. Why do you care? Because with a whole influx of illegals into any given community, you can create congressional districts. Congressional districts are determined by population, not citizen population, just population. So even though they can't, quote unquote, vote, and we know that some of them did, they still affect our congressional districting. And I think it's absurd to pretend otherwise. The media knows this. They just don't want to report it. Democrats certainly know it. That's why they're fighting tooth and nail to keep these illegals in country. Now, here's one of the things the White House said when they issued this EO, when Trump issued the EO. He said, the White House, he says, we're standing up for free, fair, and honest elections. Despite pioneering self-government, the United States now fails to enforce basic and necessary election protections employed by modern developed nations, as well as those still developing. This is what Trump says. Preserving and protecting the integrity of American elections. India and Brazil, for example, are tying their voter identification to a biometric database, while the United States largely relies on self-attestation. So if you say you're an American, that's good enough for Democrats.
Yeah.
It's...
Well, yeah, and why do you think that is? Who is it that wants to flood the polls with illegal voters because they promised them things? It's not the Republicans.
And by the way, speaking of which, let's move across the pond to the EU. Who is it that forcibly made nations throughout Europe accept all of these North African Islamic quote unquote refugees that have now destroyed major cities in Europe with violence, and because they don't accept the lifestyle of the West, period.
No.
You need to look no further than Stockholm, Sweden for that. Stockholm, Sweden used to be one of the safest cities on the planet. Now it's the rape center of Europe. And if you dare point that out, they say, oh, you're an Islamophobe. No, I'm not. No, I'm not, you idiot. I am a common sense person who can see what's going on with my very own eyes, and I don't need you to bullshit me about it when I can see it. I was just in Europe a year ago. Hell, I plan on going in a week. I don't know if I will now, Michael. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it
But
might be burned down by the time you get
and I
there.
saw it. What?
It might be burned down by the time you get there. Yeah. Well, in Sweden, they have more hand grenade attacks in Sweden than they do in any country on planet Earth right now that is not at war.
No, that's Trump's fault. That's Israel's fault.
I mean, if only Trump hadn't discovered that time machine and gone back 10 years ago and planted all those grenades.
Yeah, exactly right.
We wouldn't have this problem.
Well, listen, we've got to take another break. Good God, I knew this show was going to fly by. I knew it was going to fly by. Michael,
Always
we
does.
need to up the show to 2 hours, maybe next time. Anyway,
Yeah,
listen,
I'm there for it. All right.
we take a quick break. You're watching The Right Hook with me, Steve Hook, and Michael Lauber. We'll be right back after this.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Yeah, there you go. What a great American he is. And what a great company MyPillow is. MyPillow.com. Go there, take advantage of that great sale. You spend $100 and you get $100 worth of pillows free. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. That's like a buy one, get two deal. Make sure you use that promo code HOOK at MyPillow.com or MyStore.com and get up to an additional 80% savings. It's a wonderful, wonderful savings, and it's a wonderful all-American company. And go support Mike Lindell and the good folks in Minnesota that help put these great products on the market.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Mike is on trial right now in Colorado. So he and his employees over at MyPillow in Minnesota and all the small businesses that make up my store really do need your help. So use promo code HOOK. You'll get the deepest discounts. You'll be supporting Mike Lindell and his fight for America and American values and for free and fair elections.
Yeah, exactly right. Now let's talk to that subject for just a second. We don't have a lot of time left, and we're not going to be able to play all of this clip. But did you happen to watch, Michael, these Democrat senators from these sanctuary states sit down and get their ass handed to them yesterday? Was it yesterday or the day before? Whatever. Everything's kind of flowing into one day. I think it was yesterday.
Agree.
But they literally walked away with their tail between their legs. They got absolutely smacked around, and no one, including Pritzker, that jerk in Illinois, but nobody got it worse than Kathy Hochul, who is an absolute disgrace. I'm not a New York resident, but I am a New Jersey resident. So what this dumb harpy does have a direct effect on me as well. Stefanik, Elise Stefanik, just destroyed her. Let's go to cut 6.
Chair recognizes Ms.
We won't
Stefanik
play
from
it
New
all,
York.
Michael.
Thank you. Governor Hochul, on your first day in office, you signed Executive Order 1. Is that correct?
I believe it is.
And you extended this executive order not once, not twice, but 3 times, most recently January 16th of this year. Is that correct?
If that's what your facts show, I signed countless executive orders.
I would
and
assume you'd
policies
know
and
it's
laws.
Executive Order 1, and this is a continuation of your predecessor's sanctuary state policies, correct? Is included in that.
I want to be sure we are defining sanctuary state
I'll
properly.
define it for you. It is the policy of the state that state officers or employees shall not disclose information to federal immigration authorities for the purpose of federal civil immigration enforcement. It goes on to say, law enforcement officers may not use resources, equipment, or personnel for the purpose of detecting and apprehending any individual suspected or wanted for violating a civil immigration office. Law enforcement officers have no authority in the state of New York to take any policy action solely because the person is an undocumented alien. That's a quote in your executive orders that you extended. Now, do you know who Sakir Akan is?
I want to get back to the first part
No,
of
I'm
your
asking a question. Do you know who
Well,
Sakir Akan is?
I want to make sure you understand that this simply says that we will cooperate with ICE.
No,
in
it does
all-
not say that. I read what it
We will
says, and
coop-
let me talk to you about the results. Do you know who Sakir Akan is? You should, as the governor of New York State. Do you know?
Refresh my recollection.
He was an illegal migrant in New York. And do you know what crime he committed in addition to being here illegally?
No, I do not.
You do not. This was widely reported. He found a 15-year-old girl, threatened her with a metal pole, told her to get into the back seat of his car. He took her clothes off, and he violently raped her in Albany, New York. Do you know who Sebastian Zapita Khalil is?
I'm sure you'll tell me there's many cases, whether they're
These are
here-
high-profile cases. New Yorkers know about them, and you don't. So let's talk about Sebastian Zapita Khalil. Do you know who that is?
I don't have the specific details at my disposal, no.
Well, this is an illegal migrant in New York because of your sanctuary state policies. Do you know what crime he committed?
I'm not familiar at this moment.
I bet you're going to be familiar when I remind you. He found a sleeping woman on the subway, lit her on fire, and burned her alive. This is in Kathy Hochul's New York. And as I'm sure you are aware, and I'll remind you, that ICE issued an order to detain this violent criminal, but that was rejected by New York officials due to sanctuary state laws.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
do you
okay.
know who raised...
Now, by the way, Stefanik was an absolute rock star yesterday. She went on to name several more. Hochul, being Hochul, had no clue who any of them were because she didn't care to know who they were.
No, of course
Her
not.
goal is to keep them all here for the aforementioned political pandering and reasoning that Democrats have, which is to say they don't give a rip about their genuine American citizen constituents. They need to be needed, and therefore they roll out the red carpet to the most needy people of all. And come one, come all, criminals, insane, asylum, patients, whatever. We'll turn a blind eye. Oh, it's you got to break a few few eggs to make a Marxist omelet, I guess.
Yeah, well, here, 2 points real quick. So, yeah, the reason they want all these illegals there, and I just saw an updated report on this. There have been a few people kind of doing new studies on just how many illegal aliens Biden let in the country. But essentially, just in the last census that took place in 2020, this gives the Democrats in blue states somewhere between 20, I think it was 24 and 31 additional seats in the House, which means they have a lot of extra electoral votes that we should have. Well, let's take the low side. Cut it in half. We'll say it's 15. This is probably giving them 15 extra votes in the electoral college and 15 extra seats in Congress that they are undeserving of, that should belong to red states, but because illegal aliens are counted in the census, they get the power instead. They benefit from their crime. But this executive order 1 that Kathy Hochul signed, I mean, I don't understand how federal law supersedes state law. Tom Holman ought to go arrest her immediately, because this is a statement she signed that her state intends to violate federal law, not cooperate with ICE, and facilitate allowing illegal aliens to stay within her state. So I'm sure we can get some attorneys to look at that, find some law that she violated. I mean, we got to start playing the game like they do. Throw her in jail, along with any other sanctuary state cities or governors that have signed similar executive orders.
I don't disagree, and I would only say this, that New York, as blue as it is mostly blue because of Manhattan and the outer boroughs. That's why it's blue. You go to parts of New York, it's as red as Orlando, well, maybe not Orlando, Florida, as red as the panhandle of Florida, which is bright, bright red. So same is true for California, by the way, What's destroying California is LA, San Francisco, and other major population centers that are flooded with what? Flooded with illegal immigration. That's what they're doing. And that's what they wanted to do to Texas. But Greg Abbott said, oh, let's bus them. I mean, I'm not, listen, Charlie Baker was the governor of Massachusetts when 50 illegals landed in Martha's Vineyard. And what did that governor do of Massachusetts? He called up the National Guard. You know why? Because those 50 illegals on Martha's Vineyard, they weren't carrying rakes. They didn't have leaf blowers strapped to their backs. So they were quickly rushed out of town. And now they're saying that they don't give a rip about these people. They're political pawns, and everybody knows it. Now, real quick, because we don't have long, we're going to cut 7. We'll go to cut 8. And here's why. Tim Walz, thank God, that's just one of the 2 major bullets we dodged, Kamala being the first one. But Walz was another one. Tim Walz is saying that he thinks that China should negotiate peace between Israel and Iran. China. This
Seems like
is
a great
who Tim
idea.
Walz suspects should be at the table negotiating the peace. Not Trump, not Israel, not the West, China. So who is Tim Walz? Just a quick reminder from about a year or so ago. Cut 8, go.
He taught in China from 89 to 90. He visited the country 30 times. He got married on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. He honeymooned in China. And to your point, he promoted Chinese communism as a teacher to his American students. So I think what this does, Governor, is it begs the question, is Tim Walz a national security risk?
Absolutely. I'm 100% convinced he's a national security risk. This man wants America to grow up and be more like China.
The show. So let me just point out one thing that is kind of fun about that clip. That's Sean Duffy, who is the current Interior Secretary, United Secretary of Interior. And that, of course, is Christine Holm, who is DHS. So things turned out pretty well. But you hear that he honeymooned in China, much like
he got married
Bernie
on the
Sanders.
Anniversary of Tiananmen Square. I hope that's just a coincidence by accident, because otherwise, I mean, that's.
I know it. And well, listen, just like Bernie Sanders honeymooned in Cuba.
Yeah.
These people are radical left. America dodged a bullet. That's all I can say. And again, let's hope that what's happening over in the Middle East right now is the storm before the calm. If the Iranian regime falls, and there's a damn good chance that it will, that will usher in an era of peace, fingers crossed, that could last decades. So I'm, hoping for that and keeping my powder dry. Anyway, anything else before we say goodbye, Michael?
It'd be nice, if we still had some of those weapons that Biden left in Afghanistan, we could hand those off to the people that want their freedom in Iran right now and topple whatever's left of their regime. I mean, they were already almost toppled just by protest after the Masa Amini murder a few years ago. And they'll get right back in the streets if they think Trump and the United States are behind them.
Yeah, well, here's hoping that the Green Movement has a new life breathed into it by taking out several heads of this snake, which is the Iranian regime. I pray for our nation for tomorrow, this stupid protest, aka riots that they're planning, and I pray for the nation of Israel as well, and all people that are going to be hurt and possibly killed by this radical leftist Islamist attitude that is sweeping the left these days. It's bizarre. Michael Lauber, God bless you, brother. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend. And I thank you for joining me. For Michael Lauber and myself, Steve Hook, thanks for joining The Right Hook. Remember to follow us on the webpage, xamericanews.com. Bookmark it. We'll see you next Wednesday, or we'll see you when we see you.